Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ad America TV. My name is Anton. I'm one of the e-guides here at Ad America. And Ad America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center here in Jakarta. And our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. Welcome to tonight's episode of Ad America TV, How to Write a Statement of Purpose or Personal Essay for U.S. Universities. If you are planning to apply to a U.S. university, this is definitely the event for you. We would like to welcome all of our audience who are joining through Zoom and all of our social media platforms. For those of you who are on Zoom, you can use the chat box feature to communicate with each other and also with our speakers tonight. And we would like to remind you guys to use the chat box feature wisely. And now, before we begin the event, I would like to break the ice with a little question. And the question for tonight is, True or false? Back in 1918, Stanford students were ordered to wear flu masks made out of cheesecloth to keep them from being affected by the Spanish flu. I'll repeat the question one more time. True or false? Back in 1918, Stanford students were ordered to wear flu masks made out of cheesecloth to keep them from being affected by the Spanish flu. You can answer this question on the comment section of our social media. And now, without further ado, to start tonight's event, I would like to invite our speaker, our own Education USA Ad America advisor, Fina Alatas. Please take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Anton. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining in. My name is Tina. I'm a trustee advisor for Education USA here, based in Ed America, and I'm actually very excited because if you can guess, I'm actually here in Ed America. I'm really sad because I can't see you in person. But thank you guys so much for joining in. Hopefully, very soon we get to see each other again. But I'm very excited about the event tonight because, as you may already know, or maybe this is your first time hearing this. This is part of our monthly event. So I would like to say hi to everyone who is watching this session for the first time. Because we are not only here in Zoom, but we actually live stream right now in so many different social media platforms of Edamerica. So let's see, we are on Facebook, we are also on Twitter, we are here definitely in Zoom. We are now live also on Instagram. You can actually also go to Edamerica's website and click the live stream part if you want to watch that this session there as well. But wherever you guys are watching this from, I would like to say hi. And if this is not your first time, welcome back. I would also like to just ask everyone, if this is not your first time watching this particular session, please say hi in the Zoom chat or wherever you guys are watching this from, because I would like to know. This is really funny because I have this discussion with Santika the other day where we actually realized that there are a number of people that is unfamiliar and they've been, like tuning in to this event for a couple of times. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah, uh, you know, I said in the chat in Zoom earlier that unfortunately we are not able to share this presentation slides that I'm going to have. So please take notes whenever you feel needed. And then, of course, after my presentation, we are going to do Q&A. So if you have any questions, please feel free to even type it and ask right away in the chat. And then we already have our amazing team here in Ed America to make sure all of the questions are in one Excel sheet for me to take a look at it later. All right. So if this is not your first time, you probably already know what I'm going to do in a second. That is talk just a little bit about Education USA, just in case this is your first time. All right. So give me 1 second here. Okay. So what is Education USA? We are part of the U.S. Department of State Network, or we call it here in Indonesia, Kementerian Luar Negerinya Amerika Serikat. So we have over 400 international student advising centers in more than 170 countries. So as you can see, we are pretty much everywhere. What we do as advisors is to basically assist you guys who wants to study in the U.S. in the bachelor's, master's, or PhD level, or we call it higher education, right? And the good news is all of our services are definitely free of charge. I know it sounds too good to be true, but I can tell you right now it is 100% true. So in Indonesia, of course, not only here in Ad America, but we actually have 8 centers with a total of 10 advisors. So we have 2 in Jakarta, one at the US Embassy, and then one here in Ad America in Pacific Place. We also have 2 in Surabaya, one at the US Consulate General and one at Universitas Erlangga, Unair. We also have one in Medan at the US Consulate General there, and then we also have one in Malang at Universitas Muhammadiyah, one in Makassar at Universitas Fajar, and one in Banda Aceh at Universitas Islam Negeri Araniri. So if there is no Education USA center where you live, don't worry. You can actually just reach out to the closest one, or you can definitely just reach out to us. And actually, this is really interesting because, and it's exciting for Santika and I, because we actually, had a number of people attending our events in the past, not from Indonesia. So if you guys are not from Indonesia and you're currently watching this session, please also say hi to us. We definitely want to, we want to know you. Okay. So we provide you with 5 steps with Education USA, because a lot of people wondered, the what do you need to see us, right? So we start with step one, which is research your options. So this is the very basic one. So if you know that you want to study in the US, but you don't know, you're not sure where to start, let's have a chat. Before the pandemic, I always, urge people to come to America in person so we can have a chat in person. But now that we are fully going digital, we can definitely have a chat via Zoom. Okay. So we can talk a lot of things in step one. And then once you pretty much good to go in terms of, you already know the campus probably, or you already know the program that you want to do, we can move on to step two, which is finance your studies, because of course that's equally important. There are a number of options for us as international students, especially if you guys are Indonesian. So let's talk about that. Okay, and then we can move on to step three, which is completing your application. This is where things get a little bit more technical, and this is where basically Santika and I are really going to assist you with. We're going to work together. So, for example, the event tonight is actually part of step three, right? Completing your application. Or maybe if you were here last week, we covered the resume and CV and letters of recommendation as well, and that's also part of our step three. And then once you pretty much have everything ready for your application, you're going to submit everything to the universities, and then you're going to wait, right? You're going to submit everything, you're going to wait, and then the next thing that happens would be you going to, hear from the university if you get accepted, right? And then the next step would be how to apply for a student visa. So we're not going to apply the visa for you, but we're going to guide you every step of the way on, maybe you're still confused, the difference between F1 and J1, the difference between, I-20 and DS 2019. You don't have to worry about that at this point, but those are the kind of things that we can help you with, okay? And then last but not least, we move on to step five, which is prepare for your departure. This is our annual event, basically in America, where we invite everyone who already get accepted, and then you guys are ready to depart to the US. We give you a presentation, a lot of information about everything that you need to know when you get to the US, how to maintain visa, what the classroom experience looks like. A lot of things happen in this annual event. Unfortunately, we're not having one this year because of the pandemic, but I'm very hopeful that we're going to have it again very soon, if not next year. Okay. So meet with us. There are two advisors here in America. My name is Fina again, and I have my colleague Santika somewhere in chat in Zoom, trying to engage with you guys. So if you guys are watching this session from different platform and you guys want to join the crowd, feel free to come here to Zoom. We have our team. We'll let you know the link for you guys to join to Zoom. I leave you my email and Santika's email if you want to reach out to us directly. But we can share with you right now that I'm very excited because even though, with the pandemic, we are business as usual, meaning that, before at America always open every day. So it's pretty much similar to Education USA, although we are moving 100% to digital now, but we are available every day. Similar, same hours. So we start from 1 p.m. until 9 p.m. Jakarta's time. Um, so yeah, you can basically definitely just go ahead into Zoom. I leave you the Zoom ID here. It's an open room, but we have to let you in to get into the Zoom room. So our advising system is first come, first serve basis. So technically, you don't have to make an appointment. A lot of you guys sometimes email us and ask, Tina, can I see you on Friday at 7? Well, technically, if the room is available, we can do that. But if there's already someone coming in since, let's say, 6:30, you have to wait in line. Okay. If you're not sure, if you want to just go ahead and go into Zoom and see one of us, it can be kind of like maybe awkward in a way. Although you don't have to feel like that. Santika and I, we're when we meet with you guys, we are going to talk very relaxed and not not scary at all. But you can definitely email us first if you want. This is our email center. If you don't want to also email us directly, if you want to kind of like maybe just introduce yourself, and then if you want to share with us anything, you can email us at jakarta.acamerica@educationusa.org. Okay. So my next slides would be, I would like to tell you guys what our upcoming events look like tomorrow. So definitely you guys do not want to miss this. So tomorrow, same time, 6:30. We have four. So we have three incoming students and then one already current student. We are going to talk to them why we invite specifically current students and incoming students, not alumni. It's because they just recently received an LOA. They just recently received letters of acceptance. So it's still very fresh in their mind going through the application process. That's why we want to invite them and learn from them how they can actually end up to this campus. So we have one in Colombia. She's one of my advisees. We have Joffrey, currently already an MBA student, starting this fall at MIT. So he will connect with us directly from Boston. Um, and then we have Chintari, also one of my advisees in Berkeley at UC Berkeley, doing LLM. And then we also have one of our advisees, Santika's advisees actually, Safira, who just recently got accepted for the public policy program at Harvard University. So so let's say you want to study in, you want to apply to Harvard, but not necessarily like to this program, but you just want to know how the application process looks like to Harvard, you can definitely also attend the session and then ask Safira and the other speakers, right? And the next day after that, we are going to close basically October with this session, the introduction to TOEFL. So if you attended two of our the previous two introduction of TOEFL IBT with Ibu Hafil, you definitely do not want to miss the third one because you know how fun it is to actually being taught by Ibu Hafil. So please join us on Saturday at 2 p.m. for the last session on introduction, and Santika, I think, might give us something that you do not want to miss. So make sure you join the session. Okay. So you can definitely now go ahead to Adamerica's website to register for the two events that I just mentioned. Okay. Or you can definitely also go to the Education USA official website. Okay, let's just begin. So it's almost 6:45. I'm gonna keep the time here so we have plenty of time to do Q&A. So just a heads up, this presentation might be quite long. So basically I'm going to talk for about an hour and 15 minutes. But don't worry, I'm not, like the feedback that I received from previous events would, people said that basically the presentation is very on point, that you guys learn a lot, and so basically that's why we have this every month. Okay, so let's see. So tonight we're talking about how to write a statement of purpose. So this is a very general term if you want to study master's degree in the US, right? Or we can also call it personal essay to US university. So let's start with, you know, why writing the US admission essay is really that important to the point where I would actually give this presentation every single month. So basically that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. So it's each school that you want to apply when you want to apply to US universities, they will definitely require a statement of purpose or personal essay at some. So far, I have not had any universities in the US for a master's degree level that do not ask for an essay, right? So the good news here is, we are not recommend you to only apply to one campus, but if let's say you have three or four or even five campuses in the US that you want to apply, the good news is some of these questions might overlap, so you'd want to make sure first, but oftentimes that is the case, right? So you want to check if any of the prompts or the questions from each school overlap, because that's, oftentimes that's what's going on. That's what happens, right? So that being said, you can only just create one great essay rather than three, four, five different essays, right? This may not be really the case if you are here for bachelor's degree. So if you're still in high school and then you want to apply to four-year universities, usually they are asking a lot of different questions. But tonight I will basically just talk very general and leaning towards the master's degree. Okay. So Tina, there are a lot of different terms that I heard that I found from the U.S. universities. Are they all the same? So there are a number of universities like that require personal essay. How about personal statement? I also heard statement of purpose. Well, that's basically what's the title tonight. How about motivation statement or how about motivation letter? I also heard a lot about it. Are those the same essays? So let's see. Statement of purpose, or we call it SOP, just like what it's called, it's very straightforward. Basically, if you think about it, it's basically about you making a statement of your purpose studying in the US, for your purpose applying for a master's degree, your purpose applying for that specific program. It's basically just your purpose, right? As simple as that, right? But we also have universities that called for personal statement or essay. Well, technically, it's just like what it's called. It's about you making a statement or you making an essay about your personal story. That's why they call it personal statement, right? So usually they want to know basically your backstory, why interested in studying in the US. Like, what was the story behind it? Your personal story, okay? And then last but not least, we have like motivation ladder. We heard this a lot, Santika and I, and every time we heard one of our advisors mention about motivation ladder, we knew right away that it means you are also applying to European countries. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. Of course, you want to, kind of like branch out, have your options to apply to different countries. But motivation ladder is basically an essay, it's a term of like an essay writing, but used only in the European countries. So in the U.S., they don't call it motivation ladder. I know one or two campuses that call it motivation statement, but motivation ladder is not really a common term. Okay, so yeah, so if okay, now I get it. Pretty much, the difference about this. But again, like what makes the US admission essay really important and what makes the essays just like different, right? Because I thought writing an essay is just like writing an essay. Like it's simple. I can do it, like I don't know, like maybe a couple of nights before the deadline because it's basically talking about me, right? Like me talking, like writing a diary almost or like a letter talking about yourself. Not quite, not quite, right? Writing the U.S. admission essay can be really challenging because you're not just writing as simple as your autobiography. This is the thing that a lot of us, if not most of us, um, think about when it comes to essay writing. It is the case if you are applying to other countries outside the U.S. But I can tell you right now, guys, if you're here, which technically I assume that you guys are here to apply for U.S. universities, right? You're not gonna write your autobiography, not at all. So consider yourself lucky if you're watching this, because I'm just gonna clear it up right away, right now. You're not writing your autobiography, okay? And this is when things get really challenging, okay? Because you're going to write a story about what sets you apart from the other applicants, as well as talking very clear about your goals, all right? The U.S. admission essay viewed this essay that you're going to submit as something that is very personal. They really want to get to know you. And maybe when I said this, you're thinking, okay, they want to get to know me, so that means they want to know basically my story, right? Hold on. It can be a yes or no answer, but technically it's not really the case, not that often, right? But what we can say right now is that the admissions committee, they really really read it. Um, I'm not saying that if you're applying to other countries, they're not really really read it, but I feel like in terms of like the content for essays for other countries than the U.S., to the point where I don't think they are really trying to understand what your purpose is, right? So here, this one specific slide, I just want to kind of emphasize that in the US, you do not want to um, underestimate the essay because they really, really read your essay. Okay? The admissions committee, they want to get to know you beyond the professional and academic achievement. So now you started to kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, because before I thought when it comes to essay writing, I'm talking about how great I am or how great I was during college, how great I am now in my current job. No, not quite, right? Because the universities they don't want to read in your essay um, um, things that is already written in other documents, right? Like professional and academic achievements, well, you have it on your CV, right? And you can your academic achievements, they can actually see it on your transcript. So what makes the US is really different is that yes, they are asking you for quite a number of documents, but they want every document that they ask to be new information every time. They don't want you to repeat the same information over and over again. Okay? And the interesting part is that the essay is the only document apart from other things that you're going to submit, like transcript, your GRE, your SAT score, and what have you, where you can do that, where you can actually tell the admissions committee about your purpose, about your goals on why you're studying bachelor's, why you're studying master's, or you're studying PhD, right? Think about it, right? Where else that you can actually share about it? Technically, your transcript, well, that's something that has happened in the past. Your resume or CV, well, that's basically your, professionals and other experience that you had until today. But where can you tell the admissions committee what is your intention to apply to this campus, to this program, right? It's going to be in the essay. So it is all about fit because when you write an essay, because most applicants have good grades and scores. This is when things really get interesting because here in Asia, I feel like, or maybe or maybe elsewhere, I would say elsewhere, except the U.S. Right? U.S. is very different. Elsewhere, it's when you want to study, like higher education, pretty much the one thing that we really concern the most is good grades, right? But not really in the US. I have a lot of advisees who told me that they graduated with, almost, like cum laude, like almost perfect GPA and everything. But they still didn't get accepted to US university. Why is that? The keyword here is just holistic. I put it here, right? A good essay or story will make a huge difference. This is when it's just getting really different, right? Because like I said earlier, the admissions committee really read your essay. They really want to get to know you um, 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 beyond other documents that you submit, right? So yes, you may actually have 3.8, 3.9 GPA. You have great experience, working experience, and leadership experience. You have amazing GRE scores or GMAT or SAT or what have you. But then when they try to get to know you personally in your essay, you basically, tell about, hi, my name is Tina. I graduated from University of blah, blah, blah. I currently work for Education USA. And for them, they will be like, first of all, I know your name. I know your name is Tina. I know where you graduated from because I can see that from your transcript. And yeah, I know that you're currently working for Education USA, or maybe you just, like you left the Education USA like last year. I can see that from your CV. Why do you start the essay by saying something that I already know, right? And the funny part is that's basically what you can. That's basically what people do or what people write in their essay for other countries. But now I'm telling you, not for the US. Forget about it. Not for the US. Okay? That's it. That's basically kind of like the very general idea about essay, right? I don't know. Maybe some of you kind of like, oh my god, I've never heard about this. This is like completely new. I don't know what to do now. I'm nervous. I don't know what to write, right? Well, that's basically why you are here, right? Because I'm just speaking for like 10 minutes, and I still have a lot of time to basically cover the more important aspects of the essay. So now let's talk about the essay itself. Okay. So if at this point you have a number of questions, feel free to type it and then leave it in the chat. Santika, I mean, I can't see Santika and I can't see anybody here because I'm looking at the presentation slides, but Santika will definitely help you. Kind of like maybe answering some of the questions, or maybe later on during the Q&A. Okay. So, what are we going to talk about tonight when it comes to the essay, the statement of purpose? Um, would be the general statement of purpose, but I just want to give you a heads up that there are a number of universities in the U.S. where they actually have different types of questions, different types of questions of the essays. So the most common one is the statement of purpose. So usually it's about 1 to 2 pages. It really depends on the university. It actually really depends on the department um, that you're going to apply to. But normally it's 1 to 2 pages, right? And then it will give you roughly about 500 to 1,000 words. I think it's in single space, definitely not double space. Often essay about yourself, your professional goals, and why this specific program and the university. I mean, you know that by now, right? Because I covered about statement of purpose and other terms. But there are also universities that might ask you more focused questions. It really depends again on the department, but more focused questions look like they might ask you for three different essays, three different questions, and each questions usually no more than 50. There are campuses that ask you for writing no more than 100 to 350. It really depends from one university to another. But technically, if you have this kind of question, at the end of the day, when you combine the two or three questions that they ask, it will become a one great essay like statement of purpose, right? And then the last one would be unique questions. Well, technically, this is like a term that I come up with because I learned that, for example, if you're interested in applying for an MBA, they're not really asking the the general statement of purpose, but they would usually ask you, kind of almost unique questions. So, for example, I remember one of these campuses where they didn't really ask you to write an essay, but they are asking you to list um, some random numbers about unique things about you. So I found that really, kind of that's interesting. This is not like like a regular. This is not common, but sometimes it is the case, especially if you want to study MBA. What we're going to cover tonight is the general statement of purpose. Okay, because that's basically like the most common one. So it's the 1 to 2 pages of an essay, or what we call the statement of purpose, or they can also call it personal statement or even personal essay, but it's actually statement of purpose. I know it's kind of like confusing. If you're not really sure, you can definitely contact me or contact Santika, and then we'll be able to kind of like clarify what the university is actually really asking. Okay. Now, before I talk about what to write in your essay, this is really important because I see this happen quite often when I would read the draft. And the funny part is when I read your essay, I will kind of like turn myself into two different personalities, right? So I will put myself as someone as if I have never heard about Indonesia before, and then the other part of me is me who is an Indonesian, who might know about what you're talking about. But I will turn my other part about when I don't really know anything about Indonesia more. Because oftentimes when you write an essay, sometimes you forget about like who your audience is. Like so you write things that might easily understood by people here in Indonesia, but not the case for other people. Okay, so you want to know who your audience is. So I don't know if you guys can guess. This is what I missed about like being in at America, like seeing you in person, because I can ask you like who can tell me who if you know your audience first. Then now I feel weird because I have to answer it myself. But technically, okay. So who will read your essay? Who will read my essay? Right. So technically, who will read your essay? You want to understand this, that it will be the admissions committee who are typically the faculty members teaching in your respective program. This is the common one if you are applying for masters or PhD. Because what's interesting about universities in the U.S., especially the department, is that they are really decentralized. So even though, so let's say we're talking about NYU, for example, right? And then you are applying for the law program, and then you have someone else applying for the engineering program. Those two departments, the law and the engineering program, they have their own admissions committee. So when you submit your law essay, your law application, people who are working for the admissions committee at the engineering school, they won't know anything about your essay, right? And vice versa. So it's the admissions committee for that respective program. Why am I saying this? This is really important because then you want to address the essay pretty much to them, not to people here in Indonesia, right? And what are they looking for exactly? You're looking for a story. And then now I know probably you're thinking, wait, story. I thought you said, or maybe like a lot of people kind of think when I say story here in my presentation slide, you guys are thinking about, okay, so doesn't that mean like my story? It has to be my story, right? Because I'm the one who's writing the essay. Yes and no, basically. But normally it's not the case because the story that they're looking for is basically it can be a mixture of like a mental picture of who you are as a person, but then also something about again the statement of purpose. Remember the term, right? Something that you tell the reader your intention, your purpose. Okay, I know probably at this point you guys are still kind of "Mm, not really sure what do you mean by this," but don't worry. This is why, like, if you receive the email from us from the EducationUSA America team, we mentioned that like please attend this session, kind of like don't come here late because you will understand the kind of like flow that I'm trying to do here from something that is very general. So if you just kind of like joining in right at this point, you probably missed a lot of things that I just covered earlier, right? You will try to understand better as we get along with my okay, so I just wanna put this up before we really dig in into the essay itself. But now you know that the admissions committee are the one who's reading your essay, right? But did you know that they may actually read only part of the essay? I would like to kind of like stay here for a little longer. The admissions committee may read only part of the essay, not like the entire essay. So probably the way I like to think about like the statement is for me there are two different type of people who would react differently when they heard about this. There are people who like you think, oh, they're not gonna read the whole thing, like the one that I'm going to write. That's good then. I don't have to write a good essay because they're not gonna read it anyway, right? But then there are the other people, the other type of people when they're thinking about this, they'll be like, oh, can I change their mind? Can I actually make them read my essay entirely? So I don't know which one are you, but hopefully you are the second one because that's sort of definitely what I'm going to choose, right? Yes, they may not read the whole essay that you're going to have, but we are definitely going to change their mind. We want them to read the entire essay. So the reasons why they're not going to read the whole thing of your essay is because they might find it that your essay is very boring or that your essay is pretty much just similar to other 50 or even hundreds applicants out there applying for the same program, telling the same story. So that's why they found it. I don't have time for this. I'm done. I'm moving on to the next document or maybe even like the next person. And we don't want that. The reasons why I have this session every single month is because, and especially if you want to use our service, because I'm telling you guys, we are here for you guys. We want to help you with your essay. If you want to use our service, I'm going to make you work real hard in your essay because our ending goal is so that your essay can be read by a lot of people. Um, the Adamerica team, I can hear my voice echoing. If you can help me. Okay. So, okay, let me just take this out. Can you guys hear me? Can I have someone in the Adamerica team to help me real quick? Um, but okay, I'm just gonna try to just move on. All right, so now the goal is how to make them read your essay from the beginning to end. That's basically our end goal, right? So how can we do that? We will make a one of a kind introduction paragraph. Why is that? Because if you have just like a so-so introduction paragraph, or you have an introduction paragraph where basically almost everyone is writing the same thing, that's kind of like when they are going to stop, reading the next essay. Okay, so we want to make a one of a kind introduction paragraph and write an essay that no other people can write. Is it hard? It is hard. It is completely hard. Okay. Um, and then just real quick, can I have the Edamerica team to come here and help me because I can still hear my voice going. If Santika can help me on that, that would be really great because I can hear my voice echoing and I can't really concentrate.
Ina.
But okay, so write an essay that no other people can write. Echoing.
Okay.
Ada suara ko keluar. Um, okay. So, okay, I'll try my best. Sorry, guys, technical issue. But okay, so write an essay that no other people can write. Is it hard? It is actually really hard because then you're thinking about. So let's say you're applying for an MBA program, and then there are 30, 40 Indonesians out there applying for the same program. You have to be able to write a paragraph that no other Indonesians can write. Okay. But then at the same time, thank you. But then at the same time, don't try so hard to be different. We don't want you to just like, now thinking about, okay, how can I be different than other people? But our goal here is to actually make you you, just be genuine and be original. Okay. So now you're probably kind of like, okay, that sounds really hard, Fina. Like, I don't know if I can do that. So, can I see samples of essays from others? My answer would be no, because it's actually not necessary. Okay. I have a reason. I have a good reason about this because the last couple of years, someone asked me about this, and then I actually think, maybe that's a good idea. So I actually asked my other advisees who already got accepted, and then I asked their permission. Hey, is it okay for you to actually, for me to not like the entire essay, but just kind of like take the introduction paragraph. Um, to just kind of like show to my advisors. And then they said okay. And so I showed it to my advisors, right? So and guess what happens? When you start comparing your essays to other people's essays, you're trying to mimic without maybe you're not going to try doing that, but because you're reading an essay from someone who already get accepted to this university that you really want to, so then you're thinking, oh, if that person can get accepted using this particular essay, then maybe I can, or maybe I should write the same thing as well. So when I realized that being happened for a couple of times, I started to realize that I don't think that's like a really a good idea. Because then go back to my previous slide, we want you to be genuinely you, and we want you to be like originally you, not trying so hard to be different. Right? So basically, to answer this question, can I do that? I technically can. I mean, I save all of my advisees' essay who already got accepted to this amazing university, right? But do I want to do that? I don't think so. I don't want to do that. But I give you a reason, which I just gave you, and basically, I tell people just by attending this session, it's more than enough. It's more than enough. So again, like it's really great if you that you are here right now hearing this presentation, right? Because based on my experience in the past, a lot of my advisees told me that just like by attending this session, it's already like a good start for them to start writing their first draft. Okay, so the ending, like the key takeaway for this part is, you don't need to compare it because that way it will make your essay original. Okay. And remember, because before we really get into the technical part, that you are writing a story. You're not writing an academic paper. I just need to put it out there because um, based on my experience when I gave this presentation in the past, without me putting this specific slide, a lot of people kind of like start really nervous about this whole essay thing that you guys, the way you write it is as if like I'm reading like, you know, um, like an online article, like an online newspaper, like an academic paper, almost, right? But we don't really want that. We want to remember the story, right? Like what the admissions committee really looking for. They're looking for a story. The way I look at it is more like a mixture of story and the academic paper. First thing first, this is I think this is like a really good tip. First tips for me, um, before you actually start writing, is by creating a topic or a theme of the essay that you're going to write. Why do I mention this? Because also, technically, guys, I'm having this presentation is everything based on my experience for the past 3, 4 years, me being in education USA here in America, right? And I often see this. So I want to basically just save your time, right? I found that a lot of people, um, because they're somewhat confused about what it is to put in the essay, that they practically put everything and it's not becoming like a one good story of an essay, right? So what I like to tell you guys right now is, why don't you kind of like create like almost like you're writing a book. But I know like not all of us are a writer, right? But it's almost like that. So you're picking a book, right? And then okay, you know what the book is going to talk about. So you want to kind of like do that with your essay. You want to think about, okay, I want to study LLM specifically in environmental law. Okay, that's one thing, right? And what is it that you want to do? Why are you taking specifically environmental law? And then maybe and then you have your reason, right? Oh yeah, no, because Indonesia currently is going, you know, this is like a great time for Indonesia to have more experts or lawyers in like this specific. I mean, I don't know. I'm not like a lawyer, so I'm just like mumbling around here. But you know what I mean, right? Like you have your reason why specifically environmental law, and then once you kind of like find the issue or not always like the issue, maybe you have like an idea or anything like that, that's going to be your topic. That's going to be your theme and stick with it. That's what you're going to write for the entire essay. Okay. Um, Another tips, if you kind of like have a hard time, try to find out apa ya topiknya, apa ya temanya. I'm not really sure exactly at this point yet. Then how about you ask this big question, right? Who am I trying to help? Start thinking about it. Who am I trying to help? Doesn't have to be something big. Think about like if you are studying, I don't know, aerospace engineering, for example. Who am I trying to help here? And so maybe you're thinking, well, it's not like I'm helping people. It's not like I'm helping someone. Okay, that's fine. So it's not a person, it's not people. Next question. What am I trying to help? Oh, okay. I'm trying to help kind of like the industry of this something something in Indonesia. Good. And then I'm gonna keep asking why. Ask yourself the why. Why? Why do you want to better this specific industry in Indonesia? Oh yeah, no, because our current administration is having this plan that by 2035 we want to achieve da 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 da. But based on my research, it's not going to happen. It's not realistic because we are lacking blah 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 blah. Then that's going to be basically what you're going to write in the essay, right? What am I trying to help? If it's not someone, if it's not people, it can be, I don't know, the situation, economic or community or anything, right? And then maybe you can also ask yourself, what is my mission here? What is my mission here to the point that I need to study masters in the US? Okay? That will basically be your topic. That will be your topic. Okay? Um, the larger the scale of the problem or idea, let me kind of like stay here a little longer. Problem slash idea, because it's not always have to be a problem. It's not always have to be an issue. If for you, so for example, maybe like if you want to apply for an art program, and then it's not about like you're fixing an art situation in Indonesia, but you have this idea that you want to better this specific field of art in Indonesia, for example. So that's going to be you trying to have idea and not problem. So again, it doesn't always have like problem or issue and stuff like that. You can actually also have idea, right? The larger the scale of this problem or idea that you would like to focus on in the future by doing masters, by doing PhD. So the larger the scale, I'm talking about maybe like the whole country, for example, the better. However, I know probably some of you kind of like, oh my god, no, 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 I'm not talking about the whole country. I'm actually want to do um data science or whatever only for specifically in Jakarta. No, don't worry. Don't worry, right? I'm just saying that the larger the scale, the better. But if you want to just focus on small community, for example, that's totally okay too. That's totally okay. Okay. Now, there are two ways of writing a memorable introduction paragraph. So now you know, right, by now about like the introduction paragraph, what you're going to write about, and there are two ways of writing memorable introduction paragraph. I love the term memorable here because I can definitely see that as an advisor myself. That there are actually a number. I would say just a few of my advices in the past where their essays are really memorable to me until this day, to the point where I will show you actually in a minute, in a second, about the introduction, the sample of the introduction paragraph. Okay, so the first one, I want to say that this is not really a common approach, but if you want to do this, totally okay. The first one would be a personal story about yourself. And then I know you'll be like, wait, I thought you said we're not talking about ourselves here. But hold on. It has to be a personal story about yourself, but something that makes you stand out and sets you apart from other applicants. What do I mean by that? If you have unusual experience, or if you are a member of an underrepresented population. I can't really think of the right English word for that. In Indonesia, we call it ceritanya nggak pasaran. You have this kind of personal story where if you tell people, they'll be like, "Really? That happened to you?" Right? If you have that kind of story, then you can actually put it in the essay. Maybe some of you guys are thinking, "No, I don't have," and don't worry because I have like the other version of introduction paragraph, right? Which is the most common one. Because a lot of my advice is kind of when I tell them this, they will be like, I don't have like an amazing, different personal story. And I said, sure, that's okay, right? Oh, before we move on to this, the second, um, uh, the second way of writing memorable introduction paragraph, I want to show you the example of what what do I mean by writing a personal story about yourself that really different than other people. Okay, so let me read it. The passing of my mother and grandmother from breast cancer when I was 15 years old opened my eyes to a new perspective on life. I became intensely interested in scientific research with aspirations to better understand and possibly find a cure for cancer. I don't know who this person the person who wrote this, but reading this essay, I can already totally guess, or it's better that this person is writing this essay for either medical, like med programs or public health, right? Um, and then why this is like a like an example of when you do the personal approach, because think about it, right? Let's say this is you, right? And then you're applying for fall 2021 there. So let's assume that this is for public health, okay, to one campus in the US. So you're going to use this story. Let's say there are, I don't know, 237 applicants all over the world applying for the same department. How many other people, how many other applicants do you think will have this exact story? I can have a bet. I would say no, none. This person who's going to write this might be the only one. Okay, and that's what we want to have in the introduction paragraph. Okay, and another thing about we being Indonesians, for you guys who are Indonesians, because I realize that there are people who are not from Indonesia watching this session. Um, because Indonesia is such a unique country. We are not, we are still a country number 19, a country with the most international students in the US. Um, is it like a good number? I would say no. It's not a good number. The fact that Indonesia is the fourth most populous country in the world and we actually rank 19 is unacceptable for me. All right. But then the good thing about it is because it's very unique, everything here in Indonesia. I know maybe not making sense, but you will realize that when we have like one-on-one sessions. Okay, so this is kind of like an example if you want to do the personal approach. Okay, now let's see on the second way, which the majority of people who come to see me and who come to Santika use this approach by you not talking about your personal story, but you diving in to the problem, to the issue, to the idea that you would like to tackle, or that you would like to fix, or that you would like to start. You dive in right away in your introduction paragraph by having this one thing in mind, how you can make this paragraph so amazing that the admissions committee will keep reading. Okay, so I will give you on my next slide. Yep, on my next few slides, I'm going to give you an example, not an example, examples of intro, just a brief, because I don't want to put like one full introduction paragraph, but just like a teaser, like a small part of introduction paragraphs that my advisees in the past have read. All of them are already get accepted to their dream universities. So I want to kind of like give you the connection from one student to another. Okay, let's see the first one. Indonesia, an emerging economy country, is predicted to be one of the top five largest economies in the world by 2050, according to PwC report. Let's stop there. Let's stop there, right? When I read that, so let's assume that I don't know anything about Indonesia, and then I read something like this, I will be like, that's interesting. It's an emerging economic country, but then it's predicted at the same time by PwC report that by 2050 it will be the top five largest economy. I want to know more. It's quite interesting, right? And then the person goes, Indonesia also shows success in cutting the poverty rate of its total population to an amount of under 10%. Let's stop there. Then again, me as a reader, I will think that is actually getting more interesting, right? Cutting the poverty rate, that's like an amazing to an amount of under 10%. Then they keep reading, right? However, and this is kind of like when the person kind of like dropped the bombs, right? However, the World Bank claims that socio-economic inequality in Indonesia is widening despite this amazing thing that I wrote on my first two sentences, right? That socioeconomic inequality in Indonesia is widening, eventuating in the situation where the result of its economic growth has only been enjoyed by the richest 20% of its society. What do you get? Like, how would you react to this? For me, I would be like, oh, that's not a good thing for sure, right? And then technically, the person is kind of like going on, um, elaborating on the problem, right? So, for this person to attract the reader, you see it by kind of like, Indonesia is this, Indonesia is that, right? It's really amazing. We're going this way, we're going that way. But hold on, right? We have this plan, we have this idea, we have this whatever, but it may not be realistic because of this and that, this and that. And that's when things are getting really interesting. Okay? Let's see another one. Oh, this is my favorite. As one of Indonesia's founding fathers, Muhammad Hatta, everyone in Indonesia definitely knows, had once said, Indonesia will not shine because of the torch in Jakarta or capital city, but Indonesia will glow because of the candles in the village. I would like to stop there first. This person is using a quote from someone, right? And then maybe now you're thinking, oh, yay, I can use quote then. Hold on. Do not ever use a quote that is cliche. Cliche means like those type of quotes that you can find it easily when you Google it, or quote that is a cliche. I mean, I don't know. I can't think of anything right now, the example, but you know what I mean, right? Just like the quote that the cliche one, the good one, but it's just kind of like cliche. No, do not ever do that because for me, it's just kind of like lazy. You're taking up words from someone else. But this is just like exceptional the way I look at it because I've never heard it, and I'm pretty sure you guys have not either. But this is just like so beautiful. It's like such a beautiful quote from one of our founding fathers, right? that said this. So let's say without reading the next sentence, I can already tell or I can already guess that this person might talk about either something that is related to village. Um, that will be the first thing that come up in my mind, right? And then the person kind of like go on by saying Indonesia's food security relies on small farmers, which accounts for 90% of all Indonesian farmers. And then she's doing something amazing here because she starts to compare it to the US. And remember, who's your audience? Your audience is someone in the US, right? Unlike US farmers, who averagely owns 169 hectares per farmer, Indonesian farmers only hold less than 1 hectares average. I think this is like really amazing. She already got accepted to the university that she wants to. But then she deserved it. We worked on this together, so many different revision until we come up with it, right? Another one, and this is the last one, yeah. It has been almost 2 years since the president of the Republic of Indonesia officially launched Making Indonesia 4.0, right? Who doesn't want to talk about Indonesia 4.0, right? It's really happening right now. A roadmap planned by the government to reach the goal of being in the top 10 world's most economically developed countries by 2030. Me reading it as someone who's not Indonesian, I'll be like, whoa, that is really interesting. I would like to definitely want to know more because being in the top 10 world's most economically developed countries, the fact that Indonesia is not developed countries, that's a huge thing. And 2030 is actually not that long from now. Okay. But then again, the person's actually dropping the bomb. Unfortunately, there is still a deficiency of data specialists in Indonesia. And then again, this person elaborates even more about like this. So if you can see from this three different um, type of introduction paragraphs, what can you see the similarities, right? So the similarities are basically, the 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 applicants is actually starting with kind of like giving the umbrella view of what we want to achieve or what the Indonesia is trying to achieve, and then you kind of like address the problem or you want to address a new idea, right? So you can see a pattern here, which technically you can use it, and it's really interesting. I think what like 2 months ago, when I showed this samples, I think there was someone or even like some people kind of asked me, Sofina, if people are talking about, if everyone is pretty much talking about like Indonesia 4.0, doesn't that mean that the assets are basically the same? That's I think well, that's like a really good question. It's true, but I have not read essays from people who are using the term Indonesia 4.0 and they are kind of um, explaining the problem similar. Almost, if not all of my advisees, yes, they are mentioning Indonesia 4.0, but the problem that they want to focus on is always different from one advisee. Okay, so to the point where again, like almost all the advices that I have worked with together in the essay, you guys always have different stories to begin with, so you don't have to worry about, oh, what if what I want to do with this program for next year is something that other people next door, they want to do the same thing, because so far I have not seen that. Okay, you guys are always have something very particular that is only you who will fix it. Okay. So that's that. And then so let's see, what do I have here? Right, yeah. Assume the reader knows nothing about the topic you write about in the essay. You have to remember that because again, you want to assume the reader. Well, I mean, they're not Indonesians, right? Um, um, you want to kind of like let them know a little bit more about Indonesia in general in the introduction part, so they can have like a better idea when you're talking about the situation, right? So you want to give a glimpse about Indonesia or wherever you guys are watching, wherever you are from, um, and also a teaser. We are still in the introduction paragraph here, so you're going to write a teaser in the introduction paragraph before explaining more in depth in the next paragraph, right? Because our goal is what? Our goal is so that the person, whoever's going to read this, will keep reading the next paragraph, right? So you want to give a glimpse about Indonesia. You want to give a teaser about how urgent, how serious, how great the situation or plan is, right? You also want to be very specific because it's always in the why and how. So you don't want to just kind of sound very general because this is something that a lot of us tend to write. But that's something that I will help you with, right? So you do not want to just say my ending goal here is to help the economy of Indonesia. But then if you say that, I will ask you why and how exactly you're going to do that. So we don't have this kind of statement. We don't have to write, I would like to help the economy of Indonesia, but just dive in, talk about why you want to do that and how you want to do that, how you want to talk about, how you want to help. Okay, I hope you get what I mean here. But this is kind of like also another tips. You is great if you can actually do a comparison between Indonesia's case or Indonesia's situation with other countries. It doesn't always have to be in the United States, but if you can do that, that would be even better. Usually, I tell people to do the comparison first with the U.S. And this is like really interesting because the fact that Indonesia is the fourth again, the fact that Indonesia is the fourth most populous country in the U.S. just after the U.S., right? And then Indonesia. So the way I look at it, there are a number of similarities between Indonesia and the U.S. We are also a country of, one of the largest democratic countries. The way our government systems basically, pretty much the same, right? Executive, legislative, you know, that kind of like government level, which is pretty much the same. If you're, I don't know, maybe you're into like public policy or like law. Um, if you can do that, that would be great. So maybe it doesn't always have to talk about like similarities. You can also talk about difference. But it doesn't always have to be like that. If you want to kind of like compare it with neighboring countries, for example, I have a number of advisees, doing a comparison with Singapore or like the Philippines. That's okay too. Okay. At this point, remember the goal is to wow the reader and make them keep reading the next paragraph. The first time I gave this presentation, I was just kind of like, wow, just the fact that we are actually still in the introduction paragraph. And I almost talked about like an hour now, and we are actually still in the introduction paragraph. And I actually do this with, like a good reason, with a good reason, because if you really know how important the introduction paragraph is, and you have like a really strong introduction paragraph, the next part is like going to be really easy, right? And then you will see why, because when we're doing one-on-one session, I like to just focus on the first few parts, the first few paragraphs on your essay. I'm not going to worry yet about the other type of paragraphs, which we're going to talk about on my next few slides. Okay? So remember, the goal is to wow the reader so they're not going to stop reading after your first paragraph. Okay? So what does that mean? That means it makes the last sentence of your first paragraph, very important because that's kind of like the decision point for the reader to kind of like, this is interesting. I'm going to read the next one. Or, oh my god, this is so boring. I have read this many times. I'm sorry, I don't have time. I'm not going to read the next one, right? So it makes the last sentence of your first paragraph very important. Okay? That's basically it for the introduction paragraph. From here on, I'm going to basically just repeating what I said, and I don't know if there was like a science behind it or something, but I feel like by me mentioning over and over and over again, you will keep remembering what I'm saying. Okay? So keep in mind when writing the essay, you do not write a narrative story out of your CV. You do not write an autobiography. You remember this, right? And then you be saying, "Oh yeah, I remember you were mentioning that. It's not about like your essay." Okay, I said that in the first couple of minutes when I started this presentation. You want to create a theme. This is like my first tip. You want to create a theme or topic of what it is that you want to talk about in your essay. This will make everything easier if you can come up with that. Okay, there is already a selling point in the fact that we are from Indonesia. But I totally understand that there are actually a number of people who are watching this and you guys are not from Indonesia. I'm pretty sure I can guarantee you, wherever you are from, you also have a great selling. But I just want to emphasize specifically for us here in Indonesia that you guys already have selling. Why? Because Indonesia, unfortunately, is not a country yet whom we have a lot of applicants applied to the US. So the fact that you are submitting your application to US universities and you are from Indonesia, that's what the universities are looking for. Okay. Another one is create a story. You want to create a story. You do not write an academic paper. You do not just to put a lot of interesting facts without having like a nice structure on your essay because you are going to create a story like to the point like as if I'm reading a book. Okay? So you want to create a story and all paragraphs have to be connected. Have to be connected. You do not want to write something too general, so you do not want to just say, I would like to help the economy of Indonesia, right? But you want to basically explain why you want to help the economy of Indonesia and how you're going to help the economy of Indonesia. Okay, you have to be an expert in that topic. Well, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Because you're kind of telling someone else in the U.S. about your intention, so you have to basically definitely know about the current situation and how you're going to go about it. Okay, demonstrate a passion for the chosen topic, and then you want to know the strengths and fit of the universities. I have not mentioned this so far in the past 1 hour, but I'm going to talk about it on my next slide. So you want to also understand the strength and fit of the university. I have not talked about this yet because we're not going to put it in the introduction paragraph. We're going to put it in the body paragraphs before the conclusion. Okay? Demonstrate clear career goals, too obvious, right? And don't compare yours with others, and you already know why. And even I have just recently someone who shared with me this story, and then is it a he or she? I forgot. But like they said, Fina, you are definitely right. Like I tried to take a look at other people's essay who already get accepted to the universities that I really want to apply, and it just like it's like I'm like pretty much like stressed for like pretty much like all day because I know that I won't be able to write as good as that. We don't have to do it. We don't have to. You can say that because you compare it with this specific person, right? But can you actually write an essay on another level? Absolutely, absolutely. And that's what I tell people by starting attending this session, and then from here on, when I'm done, let's discuss one on one. Okay. So so you don't want to compare to others, whoever that is, because there will be pressure. Because here the point is we want to stay original. Okay. So questions to ask yourself when writing SOP. I am now starting to kind of like slowly bringing you to the body paragraph. Okay. But this is still something that you already know. But questions to ask yourself when writing SOP. This is kind of like just another tip. You want to also ask yourself why do you want to do what you want to do, right? Because if before you attending this event, you're thinking about, oh, the essay that I'm going to write is going to be about me, something that I have done in the past, how I was really a good student back in college or back in high school. Not anymore, right? Now it's all about what you want to do in the future. Okay. You can think about like the turning point or the aha moment when you realize that I need to study in the US. I need to study master's. I need to study PhD. When did that happen? What triggers you that to that point? Okay. What is, if any, the issue that you would like to address? That's kind of like connected to that's going to be your topic or your theme, right? If you have any relevant research or internship or work, yes, I know this is going to be in your CV, but the key word here is relevant. If you have any relevance, so for example, like Indonesia, you guys graduated bachelor's degree oftentimes with a thesis. So if your thesis is something that you would like to continue working on your master's degree or PhD study, then you can kind of like use that on your essay as well. Okay. how do the program and university you choose over another help you address the issue? This is the part when I have not talked about so far, but you also want to start thinking about, okay, I know what I'm going to tell the reader about like the situation in Indonesia, what is happening, what is the problem or what is the issue or what is the idea. Now, how can I connect those to this specific campus that I want to apply? Because we're going to have one nice paragraph convincing the reader that you are applying to the right program. And this is also the thing about the US universities that I can fairly say, maybe other countries will hate me for this, but that I can fairly say that US universities are not as commercial as other campuses outside the US because it's easy, right? I mean, you're not writing about an essay explaining your intention. The essay is going to be, my name is Tina, I graduated from university, blah, 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 and I know, I worked at EducationUSA at America for 5 years. That's it. To the point where they don't actually necessarily need to know, why do you want to use this degree again? Why are you applying to this university again? But now you know that the university in the US is really different, right? Because they also want to check how well you actually do your research. Because if you are applying for this specific program, let's say program A, and then you address the issue and everything, and then you are unable to connect the problem to what the university has, to what to how the university can help you, they will reject your application because they don't want to accept someone whom they know they cannot help you, right? This is very important. I think I need to have like a specific slide about this. I think because I think this is really important, right? And this happened before actually. I have a number of advisees where we have a really nice introduction paragraph, but then this person was unable to kind of like connect those problems to what the university, to the point where this person has to change program or even like change university. Okay, so you have to think about that, and you also need to think about why should they select you over another candidate. If you have like such an amazing introduction paragraph, then that's basically, enough for them to kind of like, I want you. I don't want that other person. So let's say like this person is sitting down with 15 applicants from Indonesia. Um, 7 of those Indonesian, or maybe I don't know, like let's say 14 of them are basically writing the same thing. Like my name is blah blah, and there's nothing like telling the admission committee about like the intention. There's this one essay written by you talking in details about like the basically what I discovered. What the admissions committee going to pick, right? The admissions committee going to, I definitely want you because you write something different, and that's basically what we want to do here. Okay, and what goals for you would like to achieve after the program. This is kind of like your conclusion paragraph. I wouldn't kind of like really worry about that at this point because writing introduction paragraph is so challenging that let's focus on an introduction paragraph. Okay. Um, Here we go. Writing the body and conclusion paragraphs. Don't worry. Maybe you think, oh my God, Fina, are you going to stop for another hours? No, I have to finish like in 15 minutes so that we have like 30 minutes of Q&A. So we are actually kind of like almost at the end here. And I'm not going to talk too long in this part because then again, I really want to focus on the introduction paragraph. I really want you to at least really understand how important the introduction paragraph is. Okay? But what happened in the body and conclusion paragraph is that you want to demonstrate the case or issue because after you give the reader a teaser in your introduction paragraph, right? Um, you can continue maybe, or maybe you can actually compare with neighboring countries or the US in your body paragraph and not your introduction paragraph. That can happen. So once you're pretty much like, okay, so you have introduction paragraph, right? Such an amazing opening with a cliffhanger, right? If you know that term, or like just a teaser, like almost to the point where, oh, I hate you, I want to read more, right? But then, yeah, okay, I'm gonna give it on my next slide, on my next paragraph, and then you keep talking about like the details and everything, right? So once you kind of like do that, maybe you will end up with 1, 2, 3 paragraphs talking about that. The next paragraph would be when you want to convince the university by saying, this is why I need to study in your campus. By not saying, I don't want you to write, this is why I need to study in your campus because your campus is actually number one in the US. No, boring. That's not what we want to have, right? But if you say that this is why I need to study in your campus because look, you have this one particular course taught by this professor specifically on this, where if I took this, it will da 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 da. So you keep kind of like merge what the university has to how you're going to implement that back home in here in Indonesia or wherever you are from. Is it hard? Oh yeah, it is really hard. It is really hard. You need to do a lot of research because I'm telling you guys from the beginning, right? Like I'm not going. Like I will make you work real hard here with this essay, but I'm telling you, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it, right? You can also mention specific courses. This is something that oftentimes happen with almost everyone, almost all my advisees by mentioning specific courses. Even better, I have a number of advisees where they said, yeah, I mentioned these specific courses and I mentioned this specific professor because guess what, Fina? This specific professor actually did a research in Indonesia. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that is definitely what we want to put in the essay. Okay. So you can mention relevant professors who inspired you to apply in the first place. Or maybe the university or the department has specific program that you couldn't find anywhere else. So though that this one paragraph is really, really important because we want to convince the reader that look, I'm not just applying to your campus just because your campus is great, but this is what what I found based on my research. And that's why when you want to kind of like elaborate that one paragraph. Okay. And then you want to also be well acquainted with the program. So to the point where you really know about this program before you even set foot there. Okay, and they will love that for sure. They will love that. You also want to know. You want to also able to mention, like the strengths and fits of the institution. Um, demonstrate clear career goals. You realize that this is I've been talking about this for a couple of times now. Demonstrate clear career goals. It's been there for I don't know like 3-4 times maybe. But you also want to think about what are they these goals for you and for Indonesia, right? So it's kind of like coming back to the big question: who am I trying to help? What am I trying to help? And why? Oh, I'm trying to have this because this, right? Refer to specific aspects of the program that matches your interest. Refer to specific aspects of the program. Yeah, so you want to kind of like match it with a specific program of that campus, right? What attracts you to the program? Why do you pick this specific department compared to other campuses? And again, we don't want you to say, "Oh yeah, it's a no-brainer because your campus is number one." We don't want that, right? And mentioning about location also kind of like cliche. I feel like so maybe you're picking NYU or Columbia, and you said, "Oh yeah, no, because it's located in Manhattan." Yeah, well, I mean, you can say that, but oftentimes I will say to people, maybe not, because everyone else will say that. Think about it, right? Everyone else will say the same thing. Everyone else will say about your location is in Manhattan is really great. It's like the hub of blah blah blah. Boring. We don't want that. We don't want boring. We want something different. We want something that is only that campus that has no other. Okay. Conclusion is kind of like hard, but the easiest one for me is to just by basically say, what's next after the program? How are you going to implement this? And maybe you were thinking, wait, how do I know? Like, I haven't started it. I mean, I know what I want to do, but I don't know if it's going to happen. It's okay. I don't care. Put it. You can be very ambitious. Okay. It doesn't have to be something that you know for sure you're going to do it. But if that is your plan and if um, it can happen, then you put it. Okay. Um, use what has already been said. This is like the hard part in writing conclusion because conclusion paragraph is kind of like you wrapping up everything without repeating what you said, which is hard. Which, to be completely honest with you, I don't know how to do it. So I kind of like come up with like an alternative of in conclusion paragraph that is this one, the number 11. What's next after the program? Right? What makes your statement of purpose great? Again, we're really close to the end here. I'm just going to go real quick. It has to be very clear. You don't want to assume the reader understands everything. Remember, the readers are not Indonesian. Concise, you want to use words economically, especially if you found prompts where they only require you to write 400, 500 words because that's actually really it's actually really little. It's actually, like you need more space than 500. So you want to use words economically. It has to be well written. Well, duh, right? No brainer. It has to be well written. It has to be very organized. You answer all the questions. It has to be you need to have a structure, which well, I covered that tonight, right? The introduction, body paragraphs, and then the conclusion. Um, it has to be relevant from one paragraph to another. Why? Because you're writing a story. Okay, you don't want to, like one paragraph you're talking about the situation, and then another paragraph you're talking about, and look, I have this experience teaching English. I'm like, what? How is that relevant? Just put it in the CV. Don't put it in the essay. Something like that, right? Um, sets you apart from other applicants. I think this is like I don't know how many times I mentioned this. Speaks to your audience, which is the admissions committee. You already know that by now. Establish your voice. You need to be the expert, and you want to be honest. And why I have this is because this is when I really try to push you even harder because a lot of us sell ourselves really short. Like you to the point like where people, I don't know, I'm going to apply to this university because I don't think what I want to do is really what they're looking for. And almost all the time you guys prove me wrong. Right? What you want to do is always amazing. And this is why and Santika was always mentioned this on our events that I love reading essays. Why? Because well, I love reading first of all, but then also because I'm an Indonesian. I'm a very proud Indonesian, and I just love the story that you guys have. Actually, the goals and everything, I just love it. Makes me even proud as an Indonesian. The Jews, give yourself plenty of time to write it. If you are here and then your deadline is what date now? October or something. And then your deadline is at the end of November. Man, I don't know if I can help you. But no, just kidding. I mean, but that's like already so you are so late in the game. I'm just trying to be realistic here, right? But if you are here, which by the way, if you are here for fall 2022, please raise your hand or please say hi. I'm here for 2022. I will give you a like a thumbs up because yes, this is the perfect timing for you to start because it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard to write an essay. Give yourself plenty of time. Be sure to answer all questions asked. Oh man, like I mentioned this a couple of times now. Come up with a theme. You already know. You're already an expert. Begin with an attention grabbing lead. Well, I have not used this exactly word by word attention grabbing lead, but you know by now how important the introduction paragraph is. Articulate a clear, realistic purpose. Use concrete examples of life if you want to go personal or academic professional experience that are still relevant to distinguish yourself. Ignore negatives and focus on your strengths. There are sometimes people kind of like want to talk quite negative things about like how our government is doing, for example. But there are actually ways to not sound like that, and that's why we are here. We can help you. And then you form conclusion. You already know what conclusion. Okay. Don't the don'ts. What are the don'ts? First one is grammatical error. Is it the only one? Definitely not. So grammatical errors you definitely do not want to have. However, so maybe when you sing this, you'll be like, easy, I'm going to ask Fina or Santika to check my grammar. Sorry, we're not doing that. Why? I'm not an English native. I'm a full Indonesian. I was born and grew up here. I'm not an English native speaker. Indonesia is actually my first language. You want to have an English native speaker to check on the grammar. Preferably American. Please try your best to find Americans. Why? I just find that like this is in my own opinion. The way Americans are talking, the way they pour words onto paper is just different than other English native speaker from other countries, maybe like Singapore, Australia, or something. Right? So if you can, please find an English native speaker who's from the US. Okay. I think this is like when I'm kind of like dropping the bomb because I have not mentioned this in earlier. Because Education USA and America advisors, aka Santika and myself, we help you with the structure, which by the way, something that I covered tonight, right? I helped you with the structure, not the grammar. I can't stress this enough because a a lot of people, especially high school students, if you guys are watching this, you tend to forget, I guess, that hi, Miss Fina, can you help my grammar? And I'll be like, sorry, I can't help you because I'm not an English native, right? Another don't, and also biography or resume approach. You already know that. Contraction. Well, this is new. But this is just to kind of like make the essay kind of like nice. So we don't want to say like they could and should have, but you want to kind of like spell that out. They have, could not, should have. We do not want to list experience and achievements out of your CV. Technically, you can, but if you want, if you want to do that, you want to list it and explain why you're saying it. It has to be some. It has to be relevant. Okay. We don't want to be sound like cliches. I want to help the economy of Indonesia, but you want to kind of like or I have always wanted to be blah blah blah. But you want to keep asking the why and how you're gonna do it. Okay. References to experiences or accomplishments before college. This is also similar to your resume or CV. For master's degree or PhD, you don't want to put anything before college. Um, Except if you are here watching this and you're still in high school. Well, technically, obviously, but assuming that the session is actually being watched by the majority of masters prospective students and PhD, we don't want to put everything. We do not want to put anything before college. Okay. And we also want to avoid controversial or highly unconventional topics like religion and politics, unless this is exactly the program that you want to do. That's going to be a different story, right? Maybe you want to study theology, then well, yeah, you're going to talk about religion. Okay. Writer's block. Do you guys know what writer's block is? So writer's block is, like if you're a writer and then okay, so for example, like, okay, so tomorrow is, what is tomorrow? Tomorrow is Friday, right? And then you're kind of, okay, I don't really have anything to do. I'm going to work from home. I'm going to dedicate tomorrow for writing essay. I'm going to spend for, let's say, 2 hours, right? And then a writer, right? Sometimes when they do that, when they plan that, and then when they're sitting down and then they have like, like a piece of paper and a pen or like a computer or something, they're sitting down and they start to write, and they just could not write anything. Like almost like as if the idea is just like gone. That's like what writer's block is. Can that happen to you? Yes, only if your deadline is still far away from now. If you're watching this and then your deadline is like, I don't know, like early November, early December, do not even think about having writer's block. You do not have time for a writer's block, right? But if you do have writer's block, I just want to let you know that it is okay, right? And I have tips. I have what, 5 tips here. When you don't know what to write or how to write it, sometimes it's because we are Indonesians, right? We don't use English as our first language, and then it's just really hard to write everything in English. Why don't you just start writing in Bahasa first, right? But when you come to me or when you come to Santika, do not bring your Bahasa version. You want to, like convert it to the English already. But this is kind of like an idea that you can actually write write it down in Bahasa first before you convert it to um, English, so that you can have like a lot of ideas to tell in your own language, in your first, in what your mother, our mother, right? Also, people kind of found it really challenging to write an essay because you already think about the words limit that the university asks. Like, okay, so this one university is asking about like 500 words, and then you keep thinking about 500 words to the point where you don't know what to write because you want to pour everything. So in that case, I like to tell people that just write as many as possible. So for example, one of the speakers tomorrow, Siti, who already got accepted to Columbia, I still remember, like she would come to me and then she gave me, I think, what was it, like 4 or 5 pages. And then she basically just like asked my help, like please help me reduce the essay because the university is only required, I don't know, I forgot, something like 1,000 words or something. And we made do. We made that happen. So yeah, just write as long as possible. You can actually ask others who know you well, like your professors maybe, or even like your friends to help you brainstorm. But I like to think about, because I don't know, it's like an Asian culture, I would say, where we tend to, like kind of try to be very careful to our friends, not to hurt their feeling, so that to the point where like when you're giving your essay, your draft to your friend, and then to your friend, your draft is actually hard to understand, but then that friend didn't really say that to you because this friend doesn't want to hurt your feelings. So they will say, "Oh yeah, no, it's good." In fact, it's actually not that good. So it depends. Maybe you have that kind of friend. But if you have someone that you knows you well and you know for sure that they're going to be very honest, they will be really great. If you're not sure, let's do the opposite. Why don't you ask strangers? And who are the strangers? Well, you can ask me. I'm going to be your strangers. Technically, I may not know you in person yet. Um, and the positive side is I'm going to be your strangers, but then at the same time, I'm going to assist you on your essay as well. So, of course, although I hate to hurt your feelings, but I'm quite realistic. So if I think that the essay is not there yet, I will tell that. But I'm not gonna say like, "Oh my god, your essay is so ugly. You're not gonna get accepted to this university." I'm going to say that we can definitely make this better by da da da. Da. That's when we're brainstorming it together. Okay. And last one is record yourself. Record yourself speaking about your topic or your thoughts. Maybe you are thinking about, what is a nice way to open my paragraph? And then sometimes it can happen when you are on a train or maybe you're on your way somewhere. So when that happens, I know maybe that sounds crazy, recording yourself on a train. Or maybe you can just kind of like, pretend that you're talking to someone on the phone. But if you're at home, then you can do that, or maybe just like take notes on your phone real quick before you forget. Okay. And another thing also, when we do advising, you can actually also record the session from your phone or something. Okay. Because when we do one-on-one advising, that's like when we actually do brainstorming together. Okay. In summary, this is like the last slide. I think. Start early, at least 2 years before the program starts. I know it sounds crazy, but well, it is crazy because the deadline for the university can actually go all the way to 5 months to 1 year before. So of course, before the deadline, so let's say you want to apply for 2022, right? You take, let's say, 1 year before that, and then from that deadline, you take another year to prepare your essay. Or maybe if you think preparing your essay for a year is insane, fine. How many months do you want? I would say 6 months would be great. 3 months is tricky. 3 months for some people might, come on, like 3 months I can do it. But oftentimes, I mean, I have like people right now doing an advising and their deadline is still like in December. And I said, you might have a problem here because your essay is actually still nowhere what the university is looking for. Okay. Um, Again, do not write about your biography. This is what like my 300th time I'll be saying this. But you talk about your vision, you talk about professional goals, something that is going to happen in the future, not in the past. And what would you like to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years after the program? You want to ask the big questions. Who am I trying to help? What am I trying to help? And why? What is my goal in the future that requires me to study all the way in the United States? Why it has to be in the United States, right? Write, rewrite, and rewrite and rewrite your essay. You will realize when you come to me or when you come to Santika, um, that probably you need to have like 10 sessions, 20 sessions. I have an advisee that has come to me for more than 30 sessions. Um, to the point where you think that I'm trying to make yourself miserable, but not at all. I just want it's kind of like the level of how I review essay is just like on a whole different level because, like I said, it's going to be worth it, especially if you want to apply to highly selective universities, which I'm pretty sure the majority of you guys are, right? So EducationUSA America advisors, which is basically there are only two of us. We are ready to review and give feedback of your essays. This is basically the most popular and on-demand service of us. Um, but then don't forget that we assist you on the structure of the essay, not grammar. I don't check grammar at all. We do not review scholarship essays like LPDP or Fulbright, or essay that are still in Bahasa Indonesia. We only review essays that are in English and for specific U.S. universities. Of course not like universities. My schedule for essays review in Zoom is basically any day from 5 until 9. But I just want to give you a heads up that around this time of the year, all the way until next year, actually, it's going to get like even like so crowded. To the point like I mean even like now I already like turned down a number of people because I can't have everyone because I only have like 4 hours shift. But I actually also highly recommend you to email me first if you want to have a session. Just to give me a heads up that you want to come to Zoom to see me for an essay. All right. So feel free to email me here. Santika will help me to copy paste this email in the chat or Santika's email as well. So Santika's shift is from 1 until 5. Um, so I said here 5 until 9, but last call is 8. So don't come for an essay review at 8:30 because then I wouldn't be concentrating enough because I'm thinking about I have to finish everything by 9 because that's kind of like my the end of my shift. So at least come at 8, okay? Because essay review can take a while, okay? Oh, and another thing, we don't do offline review. I know at this point, probably a lot of you guys are thinking, "Yay! I love this session. I want Fina to take a look at my essay. I'm just going to email her, and then she's going to check my essay, right?" Yes, I will, but with you going into Zoom. I'm not doing like an offline review. Can I do that? Absolutely. Do I want to do that? Absolutely not. Like I don't want to do that. I mean, I want you to be present as well when I'm when reading your essay because then that's when we actually have a lot of brainstorming together. Okay? Only on some cases where I would allow people to send their essay offline. And usually that's like when the advisees are almost done with their essay. Okay? But for first timers, I'm not doing offline. Okay? Whew, that's it, guys. Question. So I'm just going to have this. I'm going to take, I think, a little, just a couple of minutes of break, and I'm going to say hi to Santika. And Santika, how are we doing?
Hi, Fina. Thank you so much for your elaborate presentation. As usual, so many people in the chat box are like thankful, and they are asking about a lot of things while you were presenting, which is very good. It means that they're paying so much attention, even when you are echoing, and they're all like, what happened to the voice and everything like that. So yeah, they're paying like 100% attention. I love it. And I answered so many questions as well in the chat box and saved some for you. So now that you are taking your break, I'm just going to like wrap up some of the questions that I've answered.
Santika,
Most
real
of the
quick, I keep forgetting
Yeah,
because sometimes I forgot that I'm actually in America tonight. I keep forgetting to open up the Excel sheet. Like if you can real
yep.
quick copy paste it to chat privately, that would be great.
The link, right? Okay.
The link, yeah.
Okay, I'm just sharing you the link right now in the chat box.
So just gonna real quick like, ooh, there are a lot of chats
Yeah, so many
here.
chats, right? And we actually um what do I call this? Coincidentally connected to bachelor applicants through our events. So they're
Oh,
talking in our chat
yay!
box and like, where are you applying? Where are you applying? And good luck to each other. And that's very nice. I find this kind of session is actually very helpful, especially if you do it online. We have chat box to let everyone to, talk with each other. But pro and cons, we kind of miss the space in Ad America as well, where we can directly see your face and your expression if you understand or not, and everything like that. But yeah, we are enjoying it so far. And here we go. I'm going to, mention some questions that I have covered in the Zoom chat box. If you're watching from other platform, you will have questions. Feel free to send it to the comment box. I do have one question from Instagram actually, and I don't really understand the question. So if you're still watching, you want to add on, the details of your question, at blessed Norana Baban. Your question is how to find out the supervisor potential. So what supervisor you are, referring to, and what do you mean by the potential? You want to elaborate on that. All right, so I'm going to wrap up some questions. So in the chat box, we had William asking like, can we make one great essay rather than three or more, if you are applying to more universities in the United States? So my answer in the chat box was yes. So if you break down the prompts from each of the US universities, usually they will have the same main points that they ask from you. You can make one really great essay, like one awesome masterpiece essay, and then you personalize the part where you talk about, I want to apply to this program in this university. But again, be careful. Like, you want to really make sure that the prompt is, and you want to make sure that you are answering the prompt and the question. So you have to be very careful and checking each of the prompt from each program in university. You don't want to just blindly use the same essay and then just customize that part and then submit that anyway. You want to make sure that you answer the prompt. And some universities will be a bit how do I call it, specific. So I gave an example of like Harvard. They give really detailed explanation on what kind of CV or resume that they want from the prospective students. So you have to follow that. Okay, just follow the instructions, follow the requirements that they state on the website, and you're good to go. Okay, but for essays, generally you can do that, but you want to put more effort and time to customize as much as you can if you have time. Okay. And from Trista, I was wondering if personal statement or essay same as Common App personal essay. So for Common App for bachelor applicants, it's a bit different. I think Common App have this one general essay, not specific to the university. So that's where you have to follow the prompt, okay? And for bachelor, like I said with Trista and Shane as well in the Zoom, that their prompt is very specific in a way that they kind of ask more personal things to you because they know that you are a high schooler, and most of the time high schoolers don't really have work experience, so it's a bit different from graduate applicants. Okay. But we can do one-on-one Zoom advising. I already give Trista my email, so reach us out for that. And John is actually asking what kind of essay that you can say as a good essay or story. So what I answered here is what you always mention, Fina, is if the person wants to keep reading the essay. That's like the first indicator of your good essay. Okay. And Fina already explained on how you can do that. And we are here to guide you as well. And let's see, another one is revolving about, what to write. Can I write this topic? Can I write that topic? So it really depends. We cannot, Fina and I cannot tell you like, you cannot write this topic. You should write this topic. We cannot decide for you because only you know what's your experience is about, what you have been through, what's your turning points, what's your expertise. Only you know. So write your essay from the approach that Fina suggested, maybe from personal point of view or from the problem or the things that you want to do point of view, and then go from there. You just have to, regardless of what topic you choose. I find it you know similar to what Fina has said. It's the relevance. If you cannot connect the prompt and the topic that you want to talk about and your experience and your story, it's just like it's not the point. That's the point of your whole essay, is to make them together, like to cook them together, so that it's a really good essay that people enjoy reading. Okay, so we cannot choose for you which topic is better. So you have to just approach it from your own perspective when you are reading the prompt, what kind of things that pops to your mind. Okay, and when you have your draft, we're here. So that's where we can step in and talk. When we read your essay, Fina and I like to do this, like, oh, you're doing this project or like this vision. This is very cool and everything like that. And then you just go ahead and tell us your story, and we're like, why is it not in the essay? And our advices usually are like, "Oh, can I put that in my essay?" And you're like, "Absolutely, you should include that because that's very, very good, and it's amazing on how you put this project and everything to the plan and put it in words. You can say it, you can write it. Okay, so that's one of the tips if you are confused on what to write, like what topic and everything like that. So yeah, I think that helps answering your question on what to write on the topic. All right, Fina, are
Yes.
you ready for more questions?
Mhm. I just
Okay,
kind of need
I think your
like a bit of
voice
a
is
note
a bit
for me to
small.
answer, but this is the one that you marked green, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so I'm looking in here, Mardalina Handayani
Mhm.
from Zoom. I hope you're still here. I really stuck at where to start my essay. Is there any form or list of steps where we can start and expand our ideas, um, expand our ideas into good essay writing? That this is actually a really good question. Different, I mean, I've seen some of my advisors doing it differently. So for example, if you are an Excel sheet type of person where you have a lot of, like rows and columns and everything, you can do that. I'm the type of person where I like to just kind of like coret,
Mhm.
so on a piece of paper you can do like, okay, theme, like on a big ladder, right? What is it about my team? And then you kind of like make a lot of branches. Okay, what about it? What are you going to talk about it? Oh, the history about it. What is happening here in Indonesia? What the government is doing currently? What is the ending goal here? What is the current situation, right? Or you might be also the type of person where you're doing like a nice bullet statement, right? So you create like one theme in a big ladder, and then you have like bullet statements, right? So different people have different style. But yeah, the idea is to kind of brainstorming on your own, right? Or maybe if you have like a lot of time to think about this, making making that as something that maybe you are, like you wake up in the morning and you're having your coffee sitting on your balcony, and then you kind of like, now I have that idea. I think what I want to write about. And then when that idea pop in, put it on your phone, or if you have like, like a like old school like writing it. But then take your time, right? Only if you are here for 2022. Probably if you are here and your deadline is like for December, you don't have time for that. So really, we want to kind of like
Yeah.
meditated it with it, like with the essay. So yeah, that's that. Or actually, sometimes people found it. They found so many ideas when they're coming into Zoom. I don't know about you, Santika, but I have like a number of new advices a couple of weeks ago where like about 4 or 5 people.
Mhm.
They basically just share their story. Like, Sofina, this is kind of like what I want to write. So
Mhm.
they kind of like ask my opinion about it, and we kind of like, oh, that's actually really great. I heard about it. Then they will be
Yeah.
like, oh my god, that's so true. I've never thought about it. Yes. And then they make
Yeah.
it. Did that ever happen to you, something?
Yeah. So what I was about to suggest is actually the same as what you said. So coming
Okay.
to this kind of event, actually one of I think a few of my advisees mentioned that because they came to this event, this kind of info session. During the info session, where have this aha moment and like, oh my god, I'm gonna write that, and so they take notes and
Mm-hmm.
then come, include that in their essay and then come to me with that in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, come to this kind of event, and we actually have a lot of advices coming to this same event
For a couple of
for a
times.
few times every
Yeah.
month. Yeah, for the
Oh,
same event.
yeah, I
It's
know,
not
and
like a different.
yeah, and a good example is one of the speakers tomorrow, Chintari.
Mhm.
She got accepted for an LLM degree in UC Berkeley. Like it's
Nice.
really interesting because she only saw me once for an essay,
Wow.
but then she said, I attended your essay session 3 times. And so by the time 3 times, and I'm like, what? You did? And I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. But
Yeah.
but then by the time she gave me her draft, I'm like, whoa, this is
Yeah.
very on point. Exactly what I gave my presentation was about. And then that's when she said, oh, thank you so much because I actually attended your session 3 times. And I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa. So yeah, I'm really glad that it actually worked really well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so
those kind of things actually feel happy. But if you remember, like one of our successful advisee as well to
mhm,
Colombia,
mhm.
Irfan,
Oh
he
yes,
actually came to me, but he went to your session for a few times too. And then he only saw
right.
me for like
Yes,
two, 3 times
yes.
for the
Mhm.
essay. And that's it. He just submitted and he got admitted. So, guys, it's going to be helpful.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are here, you're actually on the right track. So, and some, some people here who is currently attending FINA are kind of like panicking when you say that we don't check grammar and they have to find
Oh,
native
really?
speakers, and they're like, where do we find Americans? I said, you don't want to worry about that too much because you can actually improve on your own English and then rely a bit more on yourself on the grammar rather than, waiting for someone to check it on for you and everything like that. That will be so much pressure and everything.
Mhm.
So improve yourself first, and we can talk about that later.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, not everyone's going to find someone to proofread for the grammar.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
moving to I think the next question.
Mila Fiza here.
Yeah,
Mila Fiza
Mila Visa.
Patricia, also from Zoom. If we already have the theme and the outline for our essay, but then we have a writer's block, how do we overcome that? So if you have a plenty of times to work on your essay, and you are already have the theme, that's already great. Take a break. Maybe you just want to kind of like, okay, this week, guess what? I just want to work on my theme only for this week, this 1 week alone, right? So then once you kind of like come up with that, take a break. You don't have to think about the essay. Um, but then also maybe you can also start thinking about it like when you have the time. So maybe when you're taking a bath, or maybe when you were like on the road, on your way to wherever, like on a train. Keep thinking about it without like having specific like, well, I mean, it's nice if you can make yourself like a deadline, but not like a really harsh deadline, if you get what I mean. So maybe you say, I'm going to take this whole week to just think about what I'm going to write for my introduction paragraph for a whole 1 week. That's plenty of time. So yeah, do that. Do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Okay,
we
next
have,
is from
yeah, we have what, like something like 7 minutes, so we have to be real quick. But we
yeah.
have what, like, yeah, we have just three
Questions
questions
left.
here. Yeah, from Joanne in Zoom also. Is it okay if I put two topics in statement of purpose? Well, this is interesting. I don't really see this often, but maybe if you want to share with us when we do like one on one, what kind of two topics that you're talking about, are they related? Pretty much into this one program that you want to apply to? If yes, I would say technically it's okay as long as you have all the words limit left, right? So if you can actually talk about this topic in 1,000 words or whatever words that the universities are asking, then go ahead. I don't see why not. But again, like we just want to kind of like focus. But yeah, if you think that these two topics you can do it in one program, I don't see why not. Okay, so my answer is actually depends on like the words limit the university allow you to write. Okay, so we have Fira Mong here in also in Zoom. Um, is it okay? Let's say the very first paragraph we write in our personal essay is about our childhood experience, aka the very, very past experience. I wonder if we should just talk more about our professional background than our personal story when writing a personal essay from master's degree. So let me answer you the last part first. If you ask me if I prefer to read your professional background than your personal background, I prefer your personal background because again, professional background is something that let's just put it in your CV, right? Let's do that. But then we so if you pick personal background, then it also depends what kind of personal background that we're going to talk about here. Is your personal story, which is you said about your childhood experience, your very very past experience, are those related to what you want to do now? Then absolutely. So, for example, like Tiara, if you guys remember, an incoming student to Harvard to MPAID that we invited something like last month or 2 months ago.
Mhm.
Her essay for Harvard is actually started with a personal story, a very interesting personal story where she talks about how she had the privilege in living in Jakarta, such a mega city and all that, while at the same time she also lived side by side with people from low income families. That's like something that happened like all the way back. And what are the chances
Mhm.
that there are other applicants having and telling that exact same story. Probably only Tiara, and she did that. She got accepted. So it depends on what kind of personal story. So if it's like your child's experience and it's kind of like related to what you want to do now, I would say pick that over professional. Okay, last one from Hannah Raisha. What I would like to ask is that you did mention several times that we should be the expert of what we are writing of. In what ways can we convey that? Good question. Um, when I say expert, I mean that you really know and you're really aware of what is really going on in Indonesia or whatever that you want to focus your problem on, right? So if you want to focus on the fact that Indonesia currently is lacking data specialists, like we saw in the example, you want to elaborate so much about why that happened. Where is the government in this? So you want to create, you want to provide data, and then you also want to cite where you get the data from. So if you can see the examples, like according to PwC, Indonesia, da 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 da. So you want to kind of like sound like you know about all this instead of like you saying that I'm going to help the economy of Indonesia and that's it. But you actually know, okay, I want to help the economy of Indonesia because look, currently according to the data, we are really way behind other. I don't know, something like that. You know more, you know better than something else. So that's kind of like what I mean by that. So I think that's like a really good question to kind of like end the session tonight.
Absolutely, Tina. Thank you so much for answering. I think we got all of the questions, and I just, if you're in Zoom, I just paste two links. One is for tomorrow. What did they say? Applying for a master degree in United States, which is going to be very helpful if you are applying for a master degree. We have what, three incoming students and one current students, right? And all of them are, going to very good universities. So that's the link for you to register. I don't want you to miss it because we rarely have it. And it's so hard to find, all four of them to have the same time.
Yeah.
And the next one on Saturday, TOEFL IBT Part 3, the last one for the introduction session. If you attend it and you need the 12 sessions video recording link, I can give it to you. But I want you to kind of know what you're getting yourself into. So that's why I ask you to come to the introduction part. Okay. And if you have more questions or you want to get your essay reviewed by Fina or me, I also leave you an email shortly after this in the chat box. I'll share Fina's email as well. So without further ado, I think we are closing this. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming tonight. It has been such a great time for Fina and me, and we cannot wait to see you for our next event. I hope that you really enjoy this, and we have been trying our best to be helpful. And this is the high season for Education USA advisors. So if you send us an email, please, please, please have a bit more patience to wait for a reply. And it's a long waiting line because of the deadline is closing, and everyone is kind of like coming to us in the last minute. We really encourage for you people to come to us not so close to the deadline. So let's say you have a deadline tomorrow, you want to submit your essay, and then you come to me today. Tina and I cannot give you an input anymore because then it will just make you panic, guys. So I don't want to do that. Fina don't want to do that. So yeah, come to us when you still have time, plenty of time if you can, because of the waiting line and everything. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, and I hope to see you tomorrow and on Saturday as well. And I'm going to give it back to the Ad America team. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Okay, thank you very much to Fina and Santika, our Education USA Ad America advisors, for the great session tonight. And I hope all of us are now more familiar in writing a personal statement or a personal essay for the US universities that we're applying to. Thank you for the session. And now, earlier in the event, I asked you guys an icebreaker question. And the question was, true or false, back in 1918, Stanford students were ordered to wear flu masks made out of cheesecloth to keep them from being affected by the Spanish flu. And the correct answer is true. Those masks were bought for 10 or 15 cents a piece and were made of cheesecloth with loops over the ears. And congratulations to our winner for tonight, Aulia Hanifah Komar from Facebook. Congratulations for getting the answer right. And for those of you who would like to participate in more quizzes, don't worry. We will have more quizzes in our upcoming episodes, so make sure you stay tuned to Ad America TV. And now you might be wondering, how can you develop an awesome idea for a place like this? Well, wonder no more. You can come straight to our website at www.atamerica.or.id, click create an event, and collaborate with us and submit your proposal there. All proposals will be reviewed, and your event might just end up here very soon. And while you're on our website, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter so you can get more information about our upcoming events sent straight to your inbox. Well, folks, this has been how to write a personal statement or statement of purpose for U.S. universities. If you'd like to um, follow our social media, you can do so by going to our social media pages at AT America and also subscribe to our YouTube channel for more information about our upcoming events. And we hope to see you guys again at the next Ad America TV event. Goodbye, everybody.